The rain had not stopped for 3 straight days when rescue teams finally entered the Black Hollow forest. Thick fog moved between the pine trees like smoke, swallowing sound and visibility together. The search operation had already become national news. 5 university students had vanished during a weekend camping trip, and for nearly 2 weeks there had been no trace of them. No bodies, no abandoned tents, no emergency calls. The only thing discovered at the edge of the forest was their parked SUV, coated in mud, its doors left unlocked, and every phone inside strangely damaged, as if crushed under extreme pressure. Investigators initially believed the group had simply gotten lost in dangerous weather. But the deeper authorities looked into the case, the stranger the story became. Friends later revealed that Daniel, the unofficial leader of the group, had become obsessed with a story involving an abandoned firewatch tower somewhere deep inside the forest. Local hunters called it the Hollow Tower. According to rumors, anyone who spent the night near the structure experienced hallucinations, paranoia, or vanished completely. Records showed that the tower had officially burned down in the late 1980s after a forest fire, yet multiple hikers over the years claimed they had still seen it standing untouched among the trees. The students believed the mystery would make perfect content for their project. On the morning they left town, security cameras captured the group buying supplies from a roadside gas station approximately 30 miles from the forest entrance. They appeared relaxed, joking with one another, unaware that the footage would become the last confirmed sighting of them alive. Investigators later recovered a receipt timestamped 11:43 a.m. Alongside food and camping equipment, the group had also purchased several VHS tapes and an old camcorder from a nearby antique shop. That detail initially seemed unimportant. Later, it would become the center of the entire investigation. The students entered Black Hollow Forest shortly after noon. GPS records from Daniel's phone showed their movement gradually disappearing deeper into isolated terrain where cell signals became unstable. At around 7:16 p.m. that evening, Chloe uploaded a short video clip to social media, showing the group laughing near a campfire. Behind them, the forest appeared unnaturally dark despite the firelight. Several viewers later pointed out what looked like a tall silhouette standing motionless between the trees for less than 2 seconds before the clip ended. Authorities dismissed it as a visual artifact caused by low lighting conditions. But after the disappearances, the footage spread rapidly online, with many claiming the figure resembled a human shape with impossibly long arms. For the next 24 hours, communication from the group became increasingly strange. Tyler reportedly sent his older brother a text message reading, "I think someone is walking around outside our tents." When his brother jokingly replied asking if it was a bear, Tyler answered only with, "Bears don't whistle." That message was sent at exactly 2:11 a.m. It was the final outgoing text recovered from any of their phones. For the next 24 hours, communication from the group became increasingly strange. Tyler reportedly sent his older brother a text message reading, "I think someone is walking around outside our tents." When his brother jokingly replied asking if it was a bear, Tyler answered only with, "Bears don't whistle." That message was sent at exactly 2:11 a.m. It was the final outgoing text recovered from any of their phones. 2 days later, the students failed to return home. Families initially assumed weather conditions had delayed them, but concern quickly turned into panic after repeated calls went unanswered. Local authorities organized a search operation involving volunteers, drones, and tracking dogs. However, the weather created severe complications. Heavy rain had erased most footprints and trails. Search teams described the forest as unusually silent. One volunteer later stated that even birds seemed absent from the deeper sections of Black Hollow. Multiple rescuers also reported hearing distant metallic noises during the night, similar to something scraping against rusted steel. After 11 days, investigators finally discovered the students' abandoned campsite nearly 9 miles from the nearest marked trail. The scene immediately disturbed experienced officers. The tents had been sliced open from the inside. Personal belongings, wallets, shoes, and food supplies remained untouched. One flashlight was found still switched on despite dead batteries. Most unsettling of all, there were no visible signs of struggle, blood, or animal attack. It looked as though the group had suddenly fled the camp in extreme panic. Near the campsite, authorities recovered dozens of strange markings carved into surrounding tree trunks. The symbols did not match known hiking signs or local tribal markings. Several investigators believe the carvings had been made recently because the exposed wood appeared fresh despite constant rainfall. One officer described the symbols as repetitive circular patterns surrounding stick-like figures. Photographs of the markings were quietly removed from public reports weeks later without explanation. The investigation changed entirely after a volunteer searcher discovered a mud-covered backpack partially buried near a stream approximately 2 miles from the campsite. Inside the bag was the damaged camcorder the students had purchased before entering the forest. At first, police believed the tapes inside had been destroyed by water exposure. But forensic technicians successfully restored portions of the recordings. What they found became one of the most debated pieces of footage in modern missing persons history. The first recordings appeared normal. The students joked while hiking through dense forest trails, filming wildlife, and discussing local legends. Daniel repeatedly mentioned finding the Firewatch Tower. Around the second day, however, the atmosphere on the tapes noticeably shifted. The group became visibly exhausted and paranoid. Aaron was heard arguing with Daniel, insisting they had been walking in circles for hours despite following GPS directions. Lisa repeatedly asked whether anyone else heard whistling sounds coming from deeper in the woods. One restored clip showed the group standing beside a strange clearing sometime after midnight. The camera shook violently as Tyler whispered, "Don't point the light at it." For several seconds, the footage displayed only darkness and distorted static. Then a shape briefly appeared near the tree line. Experts later analyzed the figure frame by frame, but could not identify whether it was human, an object, or a visual distortion caused by tape damage. The figure appeared unusually tall, with reflective eyes visible for less than a second before the footage abruptly cut out. Another section of the tape disturbed investigators even more. The students appeared to be inside a wooden structure matching descriptions of the abandoned hollow tower. Rain hammered against old windows while Daniel filmed narrow hallways covered in peeling paint. At one point, Chloe asked why there were fresh footprints on the dusty floor. Seconds later, a loud metallic banging echoed somewhere above them. The camera turned sharply toward a staircase leading upward. The recording ended before anyone reached the top. Authorities never officially confirmed whether the structure on the tape was truly the Firewatch Tower. According to state records, no such building should have existed in that area. Search teams later combed the exact GPS coordinates recovered from the damaged footage, but found only burned debris and collapsed foundations hidden beneath overgrown vegetation. The final tape segment remains the most controversial. Much of the footage was corrupted, filled with violent static and distorted audio frequencies. However, investigators managed to recover approximately 4 minutes of usable material. The recording began with the students running through darkness while breathing heavily. Someone behind the camera repeatedly whispered, "Don't stop moving." Loud whistling noises echoed through the trees from multiple directions at once. At one point, Lisa screamed after spotting something ahead of them. The camera briefly captured a pale figure standing between trees before the image violently distorted. Then came the moment that transformed the case into an internet obsession. The camera suddenly fell to the ground, still recording. Footsteps circled nearby, while one of the students cried uncontrollably. A deep metallic sound echoed through the forest. Then, very faintly, another voice could be heard speaking near the microphone. Investigators could never determine whether the voice belonged to one of the students. The words remained debated, but many believe the recording says, "You were not supposed to find this place." Seconds later, the tape ended. Despite massive search operations extending over several months, none of the 5 students were ever found. No bodies. No confirmed evidence of homicide. No explanation. The official investigation eventually concluded that the students likely died from exposure and disorientation caused by severe weather conditions. But many aspects of the case remained unresolved. Why were the tents cut open from inside? Who made the strange carvings near the campsite? Why did multiple audio experts fail to identify the source of the metallic sounds recorded on the tapes? And perhaps most disturbing of all, if the tower truly no longer existed, what exactly had the students filmed inside the forest? Over the years, the tapes leaked online through anonymous sources, sparking endless theories. Some believe the group encountered dangerous cult activity hidden deep within Black Hollow. Others claimed the students accidentally discovered an abandoned military site. Paranormal investigators argued the recordings captured evidence of something inhuman living within the forest itself. Several viewers analyzing enhanced frames from the footage insisted additional figures could be seen standing motionless between trees throughout the recordings, figures unnoticed by the students during filming. Even stranger were the reports that followed after the documentary footage became public. Hikers visiting Black Hollow Forest claimed they heard distant whistling at night matching sounds from the tapes. A local ranger allegedly resigned after reporting repeated sightings of lights moving through restricted areas of the woods. In one widely discussed incident from 2019, 2 urban explorers claimed they discovered the burned remains of a tall watchtower deep in the forest before becoming lost for nearly 17 hours despite carrying GPS equipment. Authorities continue to discourage visitors from entering the deeper regions of Black Hollow Forest, especially after dark. Officially, the warnings are due to dangerous terrain and unstable weather patterns. Unofficially, locals still avoid speaking about the missing campers altogether. Some residents believe discussing the incident attracts bad luck. Others claim the forest itself changes after sunset, causing experienced hikers to lose direction no matter how familiar they are with the area. To this day, the recovered tape remains locked inside evidence archives, though copies continue circulating online in poor quality. Analysts still debate whether the footage contains authentic, unexplained phenomena or simply the tragic final moments of 5 terrified students lost in dangerous wilderness. Yet one detail continues haunting everyone connected to the case. During enhancement of the final tape segment, investigators discovered something almost impossible to explain. In the final 3 seconds before the recording cuts completely to static, a face briefly appears extremely close to the camera lens. Pale skin, dark hollow eyes, and a smile stretching far wider than normal human expression. The face did not belong to any of the missing students, and it was looking directly into the camera. Make a prompt to generate eye.